The army waited, time went on, but what was expected did not come. No Happy New Year wishes, no short posts, no small signs that usually always appear, even in the busiest times. Taehyung and Jungkook chose silence. And it was precisely that silence that made this turn of the year feel the strangest compared to previous years on a night when the world is filled with the sounds of countdowns and celebratory cheers. These two names have precisely disappeared from the great flow of public conversation. Usually, just 1 second without news is enough to trigger questions, especially when the silence lasts for hours and then days. Army, who used to read the meaning of small gestures, began to feel that there was something unusual. Not because of what is visible, but because of what does not appear at all. Taehyung and Jungkook are known to have their own way of communicating with fans. Not always loudly, not always directly, but almost always there is a sign. Previous years, whether through a simple photo, a short sentence, or a subtle gesture, the moment of the turn of the year still feels present. This time is different. The silence is too neat, too clean, as if completely deliberate. Speculation has also sprung up. Some believe they are enjoying some private time, choosing to close the year quietly after a long period of stress. There are also those who feel that this silence harbors something bigger, a transitional phase that is not yet ready to be shared. For some armies, silence is not a void, but a meaningful space waiting to be filled by answers in the future. What makes this situation even more interesting is the timing. The turn of the year is not just an ordinary moment. It is symbolic, emotional, and often used to convey a new hope or reflective message. When Taehyung and Jungkook choose not to be present at the moment, many wonder, is this a form of fatigue, self-protection, or just a calm step before something changes? On social media, the mood is different. There is no explosion of happiness as usual, but rather a quieter, deeper discussion. Army reminded each other to be patient, while quietly analyzing every possibility. There is worry, but also trust, because for many fans, the relationship built over the years does not collapse just because of a moment of silence. Some observers see a familiar pattern. On their long journey, a moment of silence often comes before an important phase, not as a sign of moving away, but as a pause to strengthen yourself. The entertainment world rarely gives itself room to stop, and sometimes the only way to survive is to pull away for a moment, even if it means leaving a lot of people wondering. However, not everyone looks at it from the same angle. Some feel that this silence feels heavy, as if it holds an unspoken emotional burden. The year was full of highlights, pressures, and high expectations. In that context, silence can be the most honest language. The language that says not all feelings are ready to be shared, even with those who care most. Obviously, the new year this time left a different impression. Not because of the grandiose celebration, but because of the absence of two figures who are usually always part of the moment. Taehyung and Jungkook's silence mirrors for many how the modern world often demands a relentless presence, while the humans within it still need room to breathe. Days went by, and the army was still waiting. Not by demand, but by hope. The hope that when they finally speak, whether through word or action, this silence will find its own meaning. Until that time comes, this strangest new year will continue to be remembered as the moment when silence spoke loudest and when waiting became the most sincere form of attention. The wait does not take place in a vacuum. Every hour without news, it feels more dense by multi-layered emotions. Army is not just waiting for uploads or statements, but waiting for reassurance that this silence is okay. In a community of fans accustomed to celebrating together, Taehyung and Jungkook's silence at the beginning of a year felt like an unusually empty space, as if there was one chair left empty in the middle of a crowded room. Interestingly, despite such great curiosity, there was not a wave of indignation, as often happens with other public figures. Instead, many soldiers held back, choosing gentle words and reminding each other not to assume too much. This is not a passive attitude, but rather a form of collective maturity that grows out of a long journey together. Taehyung and Jungkook's silence seems to be testing that bond, and so far, It's holding up. Behind the scenes, the world of entertainment keeps moving. Other news comes and goes, trends change, the public spotlight changes direction. But for some, this story is not finished. The silence of these two great names continues to be a small note that is not erased, because it appears in a moment full of meaning. The new year is often regarded as the starting point, and whatever happens at that point is often read as a sign. Some try to look at it from a more human angle. That behind the global spotlight, Taehyung and Jungkook are still individuals who experience fatigue, doubt, and the need to be quiet. Year after year living under bright lights is not a light thing. In that context, choosing silence at the beginning of a year can be a way to start honestly, without a mask, without the obligation to always seem strong. However, others cannot completely ignore the odd feeling that arises. The silence felt too synchronous, too simultaneous, as if it had been carefully considered. When two figures who usually had different rhythms were suddenly in the same silence, it was natural for the public to wonder, is this a coincidence, or is there a deliberately chosen silent agreement? Small discussions arise, not to accuse, but to understand. Some associate it with a new phase in a career. Others see it as a form of protection from external pressure. Not a few remember the previous moments when silence preceded major changes. That collective memory makes the weight feel heavier, as well as hopeful. What is clear is that this new year does not open with a loud sound, but with a long pause. A pause that forces many to slow down, not to immediately demand answers. In an instant-paced world, this kind of waiting feels foreign. But perhaps that's where the message lies. That not everything has to be explained immediately, and that not all silence means distance. As time went on, the army began to find their own ways to fill that empty space. There are those who look back on old moments, remembering the words and actions that Taehyung and Jungkook once shared. There are those who choose to be silent together, as if they wanted to respect the decision in the simplest way. Waiting turns into reflection, and silence becomes a space for re-understanding the relationship between idols and fans. When at last small signs begin to appear, whether it be vague activity, indirect news, or just a brief appearance, everything will be read carefully. Not to judge, but to reassemble the meaning of that long silence. This strangest new year will probably not be remembered for its celebration, but rather for the mixed feelings that come with it. In the end, this story is not just about Taehyung and Jungkook being silent, but about how millions have learned to wait. Wait without certainty, wait indefinitely, and still choose to believe. In that silence, there are lessons about patience, about respecting personal space, and about love that doesn't always demand an instant return. And when that voice finally returns, in whatever form this silence will become a backdrop that gives it deeper meaning. Because after a long silence, every word will sound more honest. Every presence will feel more meaningful. Until that time comes, the army is still waiting, not with uproar, but with the conviction that this weirdest new year is just one silent chapter in a much larger journey.